Okay, going to do another update. Someone in the comments suggested it, and a few of my friends suggested maybe doing sort of a couple updates sort of thing. They suggested weekly, but that ain't gonna happen. Aim for monthly if I can, but see how it goes. Right, so the front end's looking a lot more stripped than it was last time you saw it, but this is because I have now repainted it all. I have stripped all the metal back down, which took a long time. Me and a friend both came down and did that. We wire wheeled it all off. It all came off very easy because I hadn't cleaned the steel to start with, but there was just a lot of it. There's a lot of bends, there's a lot of little bits to get in. So we took all the paint off. We then sanded it all with some sort of 30 grit to try and get a good key into it all, and then we gave it all a really good wipe down with thinners, then panel wipe before getting the first. So this is still on the first coat. I was hoping to get another coat on today, but it's flipping cold out here. I've had the diesel heater running, just turned that off to make this video, but I feel like it's just too cold. It's not gonna happen. But I have got a load of the wiring done, so we're gonna have a little look at that. We'll start at the back, I think, to show you that and work our way forwards so you can understand. Oh, I've also painted the inside, but I'll show you that in a second as well. Excuse the mess, obviously it's not done, it's just in its sort of, you know, stages. So I've had to change the cables I'd ran. I think I said I was going to do that. Change them both. So basically we've wired this whole car in 2 lengths of 7-core. I originally accidentally got sort of trailer 7-core, which is very, very thin. So this is now sort of, it's like a heavier duty cable for HGVs and stuff like that. So managed to get a whole reel of that. Ran 2 lengths, which on that side you can see reel 1 and 2, just so I know what they're doing. I'm trying to remember now off the top of my head which one does what. So number 1, this one, he goes straight to the engine bay, I believe. So he goes straight to the engine bay, sort of up on the firewall to run different parts up there. And number 2 goes straight to the dash. I've realised that a lot of the cables, you know, we need information sent from the front back to the back of the car. I've managed to do all of that in that same second 7-core. So on this end you can see, so we have indicators left and right coming out, we have brake lights coming out, side lights will already be here in the boot. So I think I brushed on this control box before, so it runs off of this little device here, which I've now labelled up. Sort of, yeah, just press the button, he acts as the relay, controls it all, just keeps it all a bit neater. So we got auxiliary as number 1 on this, so that's going to power all the sort of odd bits and bobs. So provide power to the power steering, all the relays, the high voltage side of the relays. I'll show you that at the front in a minute, how that's going to work. Trying to think, 12-volt charger for the you know, for a phone charger, things like that. I think as well he powers the alternator, gives the live feed to that. What else does he do? Power to all the instruments, things like that. There's a lot of odd things that sort of a miscellaneous power can do. Then obviously fuel pump, that's quite easy, he's in the boot. Side lights, so he runs off to the front and is in the back already. Lock enable, I'm going to use that for my line lock, for doing burnouts, obviously. Power, what was that one? Oh, I think he's the coil, so he fires up all the ignition side of it, like the coil and stuff. Same actually, I have a feeling that also runs the alternator as well. Fan, that's self-explanatory. Front, that's going to be the headlights, and windshield, that's going to be wipers. This kit didn't quite come with the perfect stickers, but it's good enough for what I want. So we've also got a fuel sender now as well, so I've done that today, put that in. He's not quite wired in yet. I've got a book basically. I've got a book where I've drawn all my wiring and written what every cable does in it, which is going to be which is a massive help. And I think it's in the car, but it's cold outside. I'm not going out there. So we've been making some looms and stuff with like the loom tape and stuff, which looks really neat, really. So we've got one cable that obviously comes down and round this side and out for that headlight. My camera, again, without the wire, without my book, I can't tell you what each of them do. I have a feeling green though is definitely indicator. Red will be brake light. I'm thinking black might be side lights. And maybe the white one is the earth. Yes, white one is earth. Cool. And then yellow on this side is indicators. So I have followed in some ways sort of how you would wire a trailer. I have used those sort of colours because it does make it easier for like quick glancing, working out what I've done. So that's the back end. We're going to skip the middle and go to the front because that's where the torch is at the moment. And I can also show you some other bits I've done. So the one core cable, sorry, I'm trying to get comfortable. So the one core cable, the 1/7 core comes up here, straight into this box here, which we can open. Have a bit of a look in. Everything's a little bit messy though. It's not quite there yet. So you can see how currently those grey cables that come out on the right hand side, they're what run off to the left and right, front, you know, down the wings and stuff. I might be about to change those. I'll show you. I've managed to get some sort of connector wires. I call them connector wires. Some 4-core cable. Was it 4? It might be 5 actually. 1, 2, 3. No, it's 4. Yeah, it's 4. Have these waterproof plugs in them. Because what I'm thinking is then we can basically, it'd be you unplug that, 4 bolts later, and you can take the wing off. Just for quick access to a lot of the car, really. If on a track day I was saying I needed to whip the wings off, it would only be a couple of bolts and a plug to get that done. So you can see the relays down here. Got the torch up again. That back where it was. So I think I briefly touched on what these were for the other day. So over here on the left though, I've made another panel. He's not welded in, he's just very temporary at the moment. Just checking that everything fits where I want. So here's our fan controller, David Craig fan controller, a really cool, it's all sort of one sealed unit with it's got a little temperature probe right here that goes into the fins of the radiator, which just saves having to go into the block and stuff like that, or into a water line and have leakage, which I used to get a lot on my old setup. You can run 2 cooling fans. I'm only going to run the one. I'm hoping just to get one sort of decent big fan and go off of that. And we've got another 100 amp relay here. So what I'm thinking is that auxiliary wire will go to him as one of its jobs, which will then click over to put power into this bus bar. And this bus bar will then put all the power to the main live sides of all the relays. There'll be another one under the dash for the power steering. The only one that won't need that power will be the one for the wiper motor, which lives up here, because the wiper motor runs off of a negative feed. So I mean, they do have a main positive feed, but he wants, it's a negative feed that actually tells him to fire off and do his wipe, and then obviously the keeping a consistent positive means he returns back to where he was. So yeah, that's on the to-do list still. I think the cable for that is kicking about though. I'm just looking for it. This white one here is for the ignition side, so for the coil. This blue one here is for cooling fans. It's probably, I can't remember what this brown one's for. This brown one's for something. And this yellow one is going to get changed back to the blue cable because I don't know why I did a color change mid wire and I'm not happy with it. I think I didn't want to split any more cable up, so I have now got some blue cable. I'm going to change that. This red cable down here is the brake lights, hence why he's kicking about next to the brake light switch. Yeah, I wonder if that brown wire is for the wipers, but I've pulled him out the wrong side. He must be for something on this side of the car, but I can't remember what for. So yeah, so as you can see, the chassis looks a lot better now. Not covered in rust and just peeling off. It's actually on there and feels like quality. Let's grab the torch and go have a look inside. So we've repainted in here as well. So all these bars are now looking really nice and clean. I left the Bennett built bit. I thought that looked quite cool. Again, that cable's it's just enough for being able to put main feed into the control box to test stuff. Had to get a new indicator stalk. My previous one, the indicator side of it was like the little bar that clicks across to send power. If you know a Land Rover indicator stalk, it popped out on the one side, and whilst I was trying to fiddle with it to work out how it was meant to work, I actually broke it. So I had to order a new one, which is one of those things. We got my fuel tank gauge, fuel gauge, and that came with the kit for the tank sender, which was quite useful because I was struggling with working out. So if you look at some of the sender units, and it talks about what ohms it works in for the gauge, and then you go look at the gauges, and not all of them even tell you what ohms they require to receive information, or vice versa. So that got a bit confusing and annoying. So I found a kit that just came with one instead. New GPS speedo, because I'd lost the plug off the back of my one to actually be able to wire it in. The lights there, so the indicators, they are wired in on their positive side, along with the high beam and the battery light. So come over here, it looks a bit of a mess, but you can kind of get the gist of what's going on. So I made a little loom that comes up here. Here is that blue to yellow wire I'm not very happy about, that's going to get changed. He's quite simple because he's actually outside of the loom, because I didn't think I'd be happy with it, but I still did it anyway, and now I'm regretting it. So the GPS speedo has a little GPS unit, which is here. So this just needs to get mounted somewhere where it can pick up a signal. I'm probably going to put him on the other side of this sort of scuttle, sort of underneath the back, maybe on that panel I've just made that's on the other side of here, or like I run on my 100E, I run him under a wing. I've just kind of left that at the moment. I'm not 100% sure where is best to put him at the moment, but with me repainting the chassis and the front end of the chassis and stuff, I didn't want to be running cables down it for fixing stuff like that. So underneath here is where the next 7 core comes in. He does split straight away here, and I pulled 2 cores straight out to go straight up for things like the fuel sender, and I can't remember what else. I did pull something else out. Oh, the red wire comes out and goes underneath, because obviously he goes for the brake lights, and that information obviously needs to get sent to the back of the car. So this one doubles up quite well really for sending information all over the place. So what will happen is this main wiring loom on the indicators will get cut off and fed all into this. So you can see already you've got my yellow and green, which will be my indicator wires, and then they double up on the other side and stuff, going off to the one set goes off to the back of the car, one set goes off to the front, and these two probably here go off up to the little indicator lights on the dashboard. Got our side lights in there and stuff. We've got an auxiliary wire in here just dangling just here at the moment, so he's ready to go into the power steering unit, which should arrive Monday. I'm hoping to get that fitted sort of here, or maybe a bit further back so we won't see the bolt holes. They come with like a little adjuster knob that I'm thinking I'll probably attach on this, but probably on the other side so it's not seeable. I very much doubt I'm ever going to adjust it. Just set it to, you know, a hard setting and not worry about it really. One of the next problems I've got, so we've fixed the throttle pedals. They had a big wobble in them where the actual fitting in the pedal section was sort of 9mm, but the holes on either side were 8mm for an M8 bolt. So I had a good bit of play in it. So I've opened them up, sleeved them, and put them back in. But I've been trying to work out the best way to make a push pedal pull a throttle cable, because I didn't really get any linkage. I got one of these they gave me, but I believe this sort of setup is designed for running an engine in the back of the car, because I can understand, you know, you can put your cable in here, loop him around this, attach to the side of the pedal, and back for here, and then when you push him away, he's pulling the cable. But trying to work out how I can have a cable coming this end to attach to this. I've looked at a few pictures and studied a few things last night. So one of the options was to attach a sort of little bracket underneath, so when he moves backwards, he's pulling the cable from underneath himself. I'm very strapped for room there. So I'm thinking of kind of like a H bracket. It's not really a H shape, if you know what I mean. Sort of like it comes down, across, down again. So have a fixing point in the center, somewhere around here. I'll probably have to put a bar in. So then when you push that bar away, you'd be pulling, you know, making the other bar do a pull motion the other way to pull the cable, maybe in this sort of dead space here. That's one of the thoughts anyway. There's probably a really simple way of sorting it that I just haven't yet thought of, but we're getting more ideas than I had last week, so that's the main thing. So yes, that's a lot of the wiring done. Most of the cables that have to come out here and to the front are in this little loom here that I've made. Because this one runs straight off back to the back of the car. And trying to think what else we've done in here really. I've started opening up the old vents that were on it because they were welded in, but they were very raised to try and lower them down so it can be very seamless. And we've done a few more bits on panels and stuff. So we're in the process of trying to work out which front driver's wing to run. They both have very similar rot issues, but I feel like this one's the best one because he needs filling here, and this light hole will need adjusting because he's obviously an early wing, and we need the sort of later style like this one has. But this one's got a lot more rot in him, and under here is quite demolished. Both of them, this front here is quite rusty, but I think savable. But whereas the main thing that changed it for me is this one is completely rotten all the way down this back edge, whereas this one only has a very little bit to do up at the tops here, which we should be able to get away with quite simple fixes. Whereas this one, I was thinking of cutting the back off of that one and welding him on this one, but then I thought, well, might as well just use the other wing, as opposed to trying to cut stuff, mount stuff without it all bowing and going all over the place. This one had a hell of a dent in it up at the top here. I'll try and put a photo in so you can see it, but it was bowed right in, and whoever had dented it obviously came up with the idea of, oh, let's like sort of hammer loads of little nicks in him inside of the dent, and then they just filled it. I'm guessing they put the little dings in it to be able to give the filler something to bond to help hold it. But my friend Gareth's done another amazing bit of panel beating to get that out. It's very, very hard to tell there was ever a big dent in it. So we managed to get that out, and there was quite a few other things, because this wing, for some reason I decided this wing was rubbish a few years back, and I've just been happily throwing it around my garden. And he did quite a lot more dents, which there are still a couple, but he's knocked a lot of them out, and it would only require now a very thin skim of filler to fill anything, whereas before it had half a tub itself just in that. Got the front panel up here as well at the moment, which we're just having a look at. Apparently once someone had a great time drilling lots of holes in it for something they fitted to it. We've taken him right down so he's just that single sort of skin, as it were, because they usually have sort of another plate in them for running a standard radiator, which we're not going to do. We're probably not going to need this sort of, we're not going to need all of this top bar, because we're not going to run the standard bonnet latch. We'll think of something clever for that instead. But I guess we will need these end holes, because I believe they are where the front wings are attached to. Can't remember. Yes, they do. Oh, and he's got this horrible bit of gouge there, but we should be able to sort those. Can't really think what other panels we've done. We finished the boot. No, not the boot. Sorry, the bonnet. That's abandoned over here at the moment. I'm currently toying with the idea of cutting a big hole in it and running my bonnet scoop that I've got. Anyone who saw or knew my car previously will remember it had a big white bonnet scoop on it all the time. Mainly for airflow. Just I'm worried that that's quite a little hole really to get plenty of air around a big 400 block. So I'm thinking a big bonnet scoop just to chuck an extra load of air in. I wouldn't mind. To be honest, I really want louvers. I really want some bonnet louvers, but trying to find someone who can do them locally is proving to be quite difficult. I need to ask about again. and see what I can find out. But really, I prefer to have 2 bonnets actually. I have one with a big scoop on it for a bit of fun, and one with louvers on it for just looking a bit more sleek and a bit more sleeperish. But yeah, that's all we've got at the moment. I have had my front steering arms back. We've extended the thread down them. They're not, obviously that's all out at the moment, ready for the next coat of paint. And I still need to cut them down, but that will happen. We've got a lot of braided lines have finally arrived as well for doing brake hoses, so I need to get on and do that as well. But hopefully Wednesday we'll put another whole day into this and break the back of it. And obviously got Christmas coming up, and hopefully get a good few more days out here. That's the goal anyway. See how far we can get before we need to start spending money. Right, I'll probably do another update in a month's time. And I'll try and stick some pictures in so you can see stuff, but editing stuff is definitely not my forte. So we'll see what happens. Cool, take it easy.